Greetings aspirants. Welcome to the Daily Current Affairs by CivicCentre IAS, where we try to discuss important and the relevant articles from the Hindu, Indian Express and the PIB in UPSC CSE Prelims perspective. So, these are the list of articles we are going to discuss today. Coming to the first article, the budget which to be tabled in Parliament by Finance Minister Nirmala Sitharaman is the government's blueprint on expenditure, taxes it plans to levy, and other transactions which affect the economy and lives of citizens. So, now in this context, let's discuss about the budget. Coming to the budget and the constitutional provisions, Article 112 of the Constitution therefore lays the foundation for the Union budget. The Union budget is referred to as the annual financial statement, which in turn outlines the financial framework of the country. The time frame for budget covers the financial year, which runs from 1st April to 31st March, and thus sets the period for fiscal planning. Looking at the contents in the budget includes estimates for both revenue and capital receipts, along with planned expenditure, and thus provides a comprehensive financial outlook. It also outlines the ways and means to raise revenue, focusing on effective strategies for financial growth. Furthermore, a closing year analysis is provided, which reviews actual receipts and expenditure, explaining the reasons for any surplus or deficit. Additionally, the budget presents a policy overview, outlining the economic and financial policy for the coming year, including taxation proposals, revenue prospects, spending programs, and new schemes or projects. Moreover, the nodal agency responsible for managing the budget is the Department of Economic Affairs under the Finance Ministry. And looking at the major components of the budget has three major components, which are expenditures, receipts, and deficit indicators, each of which plays a crucial role in financial planning and overall fiscal management. Firstly, looking at the expenditure is classified by its impact on assets and liabilities, and thus it is crucial to understand how each type countries contribute to financial stability. And the capital expenditure increases assets or reduces recurring liabilities, such as spending on infrastructure projects like schools and hospitals. In contrast, revenue expenditure does not add assets to reduce liabilities, including costs like salaries, subsidies, and interest payments. Additionally, expenditure is classified based on its sectoral impact, which includes general services. This category includes administrative services, which are essential for functioning of the government. Secondly, economic services. These services focus on transport, communication, rural development, and agriculture, all of which are pivotal for economic growth. And social services. These includes essential sectors such as education and health, which are fundamental for social well-being. And grants in aid and contribution. This category includes transfer of other entities aimed at supporting various public and private initiatives. And then lastly, development expenditure. This is the sum of economic and social services, which is further divided into revenue and capital expenditure, thus reflecting the government's priorities for growth. And coming to the receipts, the receipt section of the budget includes revenue receipts. These are derived from taxes and non-taxes sources, and importantly do not increase liabilities. And next, non-debt capital receipts. These come from the recovery of loans and disinvestment proceeds, which also do not result in future liabilities, providing a non-borrowing source of funding. And lastly, debt creating capital receipts. These receipts can lead to higher liabilities and future commitments, such as loan taken by the government, thus impacting future fiscal health. And looking at the deficit indicators, the fiscal deficit therefore is the difference between total expenditure and the sum of revenue and non-debt receipts, indicating the net borrowing needs of the government. And the primary deficit is calculated by subtracting the interest payments from the fiscal deficit, thus showing the government's fiscal position before accounting for past borrowings. The revenue deficit, on the other hand, is the fiscal deficit minus capital expenditure, highlighting the gap between revenue receipts and revenue expenditure. Coming to the next article, the Indian Space Research Organization will in the early hours of Wednesday oversee the historic 100th launcher from the Satish Dhawan Space Center in Sriharikota with the GSLV F-15 mission. So now in this context, let's discuss about GSLV F-15 mission. This launch vehicle for the mission is GSLV F-15, which marks its 17th flight and its 11th with an indigenously developed cryogenic engine. The satellite being launched is NVS-02, a 2250 kg second generation navigation satellite. The satellite is to be injected into a 170 into 36,577 kilometer geostationary transfer orbit, where it will begin its operational journey. So now let's look at NSV-02, and which is the second generation NAVIC satellites. The purpose of NSV-02 is to replace older satellites in the Indian Regional Navigation Satellite System, or NAVIC, ensuring a more advanced and reliable navigation system. The features of NSV-02 include lifespan of 12 years, which is significantly longer than the first generation satellites, thus ensuring greater sustainability. It also incorporates indigenously developed atomic clocks, which offer greater accuracy in positioning. Moreover, the satellite operates on the L1 frequency, which is commonly used in the US GPS, thus enabling its use in smaller devices like fitness trackers too. And Indian Regional Navigation Satellite System, NAVIC. The Indian Regional Navigation Satellite System, also known as NAVIC, is a 7-satellite system that provides positioning, navigation and timing services over India and within 1500 kilometers of its neighborhood. The first satellite, IRNSS-1A, was launched in 2013, marking the beginning of India's satellite navigation initiative. Advancements in the system have led to newer satellites with better capabilities and longer mission life, thus enhancing the overall reliability of the system. Furthermore, the increasing availability of cell phone chipsets supporting NAVIC data has further expanded the reach and utility of the system. Looking at the significance of NVS-02, NVS-02 significantly enhances the utility of NAVIC for smaller devices and applications, thus broadening its scope for everyday use. It also reinforces India's efforts to achieve self-reliance in satellite-based navigation services, strengthening the country's capabilities in space technology. Coming to the next article, the World Health Organization released a set of guidelines on Sunday recommending use of lower sodium salt substitutes. So now in this context, let's discuss about the potassium salt or potassium-based salt substitutes. The potassium salts are potassium chloride based substitutes for sodium chloride in table salt, providing a healthier alternative. The benefits of potassium salts includes reducing sodium consumption, which is essential for overall health. Additionally, potassium salts increases potassium intake, which helps lower blood pressure, thus contributing to better cardiovascular health. Potassium can be sourced from various foods, including beans, peas, nuts, spinach, cabbage, bananas, and papaya, all of which are readily available and beneficial for health. And looking at the key points from the WHO guidelines, the WHO guideline emphasizes sodium intake reduction, advising individuals to limit sodium intake to less than 2 grams per day, which is approximately 5 grams of the salt. To reduce sodium intake effectively, the guideline suggests avoiding table salt, which is a significant source of sodium. As for the potassium-based salt substitutes, the guideline recommends replacing the part of table salt with potassium-based salts to achieve the desired health benefits. However, it is not recommended for certain groups, including women and children, as well as individuals with kidney impairments due to the insufficient data on safety. Key findings from the studies show that potassium-based salt substitutes can reduce systolic pressure by 4.6 mmHg and diastolic pressure by 2.43 mm mercury, which significantly benefits heart's health. Furthermore, these substitutes decrease the risk of non-fatal strokes by 10%, cardiovascular deaths by 23%, and increase blood potassium levels by 0.12 mmol per liter. Some studies have also shown additional benefits when potassium-magnesium-calcium combinations were used. Looking at the importance of the guidelines, this guideline is particularly relevant for India, which has a high burden of hypertension, heart attacks, and strokes, making it essential to adopt healthier dietary practices. According to India's study, 315 million people, or 35.5% of the population, live with hypertension, highlighting the need for the effective solutions. Additionally, the global burden of disease study found that 28.1% of the total deaths in India in 2016 were due to cardiovascular diseases, further underlining the significance of such health interventions. The health impact of switching to lower sodium salt substitutes can be profound, as it can help mitigate the risks of hypertension-related conditions and improve overall health conditions. Coming to the next article, in the run-up to the Union Budget for 2025-2026, over a dozen states, many of them ruled by the BJP, have sought a sharp increase in financial assistance for building houses in rural areas under the Pradhan Mantri Awas Yojana Gramin. So now in this context, let's talk about the Pradhan Mantri Awas Yojana. The Pradhan Mantri Awas Yojana is a flagship house credit linked subsidy scheme which was launched by the Government of India in 2015 to provide affordable housing to the economically weaker sections and lower income groups of the country. The scheme has two main components, which include Pradhan Mantri Awas Yojana Urban, which caters to the urban poor, and Pradhan Mantri Awas Yojana Gramin, which focus on the rural poor. And it's also called as Pradhan Mantri Awas Yojana Rural. Looking at the Pradhan Mantri Awas Yojana Gramin, it was introduced to address the gaps in the rural housing program and in line with the government's commitment to provide housing for all by 2024. The Indira Awas Yojana was restricted into the Pradhan Mantri Awas Yojana Gramin with effect from 1st April 2016. The objective of Pradhan Mantri Awas Yojana Gramin is to provide a Pakka house with basic amenities to all the houseless householders and those living in Kacha and dilapidated houses, with the target of achieving this by 2024. Beneficiaries are identified using the socio-economic and caste census 2011, ensuring that the most needy households are prioritized. Looking at the features of the scheme, it includes financial assistance is provided under the scheme with 1.2 lakh allocated for plain areas and rupees 1.3 lakh for hilly, difficult and integrated action plan areas, thus offering differentiated support based on the geographical needs. The scheme encourages convergence with other programs such as Swachh Bharat Mission for toilet construction and MG Narega for waged employment, ensuring holistic development. Furthermore, Pradhan Mantri Awas Yojana Gramin utilizes an end-to-end e-governance model for program implementation and monitoring, with tools like Awas Soft and Awas App to streamline the process. The nodal ministry for the implementation of Pradhan Mantri Awas Yojana Gramin is the Ministry of Rural Development, which oversees the effective rollout and monitoring of the scheme. Coming to the next article, since 2005, the NGO Pratham has released the annual status of education report rural to the measure basic reading and arithmetic levels among school children, attendance in school and the other indicators. The data have revealed broad trends in learning over the years. So, now in this context, let's look at the annual status of education report 2024 highlights. Survey scope and findings include, in the pre-primary age group from 3 to 5 years, 77.4% of the children were enrolled in early childhood education programs, reflecting an increase in enrollment compared to 2018. Furthermore, there was increase in enrollment in LKG, UKG and Anganwadis, indicating better access to the early education. In the elementary age group of 6 to 14 years, there was an improvement in reading and arithmetic levels across all grades, with a particularly notable improvement in classes 1 to 3. For older children of the age group 15 to 16 years, school enrollment, non-enrollment dropped to around 7%, showing progress in ensuring that the children remain in the school. The digital literacy also showed positive trends, with over 90% of the children having access to the smartphones. Skills such as browsing or setting alarms showed a minor gender gaps, with boys at 80.1% and girls at 78.6%, suggesting relatively equal access to the digital tools. Looking at its impact of National Health Education Policy 2020, the National Health Education Policy 2020 brought about significant structural changes, including the inclusion of 3 to 6 age group in the education framework, thereby expanding the scope of early childhood education. Moreover, the policy also focused on educational literacy and numeracy, with NIPUN Bharat 2021 initiative aiming for universal FLN by class 3 at the age group of 8 by 2026 to 2027. Regarding implementation, 83% of the schools received FLN directives, ensuring that the policy was reaching a wide range of schools. Additionally, 78% of the schools had trained at least one teacher in foundational literacy and numeracy, and 75% of the schools received relevant learning materials, facilitating the effective rollout of this initiative. And looking at the early childhood care and education, the early childhood care and education is an important because class 1 enrollment at the age of 6 ensures that children are cognitively and socially ready for the formal education. Moreover, the focus areas of early childhood care and education include preparing children and families for school and equipping schools to provide quality and early childhood education. Anganwadis plays a significant role in this process, with a large share of 3 to 5 years old attending Anganwadis, where they receive essential services such as immunization, nutrition, and early childhood education. The advantages of Anganwadi include a close parent-worker connection, tangible benefits, and improved accessibility for the families. State-specific efforts have also contributed to progress, with Himachal Pradesh and Punjab offering pre-primary classes in schools, while Rajasthan saw increase in enrollment of 5-year-olds in both Anganwadis and private LKG or UKG classes. Coming to the next article, on January 24, a rare plant known as the corpse flower bloomed in Sydney, Australia for the first time in more than a decade. A similar flower bloomed in New York in the US on the same day. So, now in this context, let's discuss about the corpse flower. Looking at its overview, on January 24, 2025, the corpse flower, which scientific names are Amorphophallus titanium and Amorphophallus gigas, bloomed in Sydney, Australia for the first time in over a decade, while a similar bloom occurred in the same day in New York. The flower emits a strong odor akin to rotting flesh, which attracts carrion insects for the pollination, making this behavior a unique trait of the plant. The Sydney specimen was named Putricia, while the New York flower was named Smelliot, both gaining significant attention due to their rare blooming. Looking at the botanical characteristics, the corpse flower is renowned for its oversized flowers, which can reach a diameter of over 1 meter, and it has a stalk that can grow up to 3 meters tall. The plant blooms infrequently, usually only once for few years, and the bloom lasts for about 24 hours, making it a rare and fleeting event. It has crimson petals and distinctive pointed stalk, both contributing to its dramatic appearance. Looking at the unique features of the flower releases a foul odor to attract insects that feed on decomposing matter, which is a key characteristic of the plant pollination strategy. This odor is the result of a mixture of organic compounds including dimethyl trisulfide, isovaleric acid, and indole, all contributing to the smell of the rotting flesh. The emissions peak during evening and night when the carrion insects are more active, ensuring the maximum pollination potential. Additionally, the plant's heat production during bloom, which can reach up to 37 degrees Celsius, also aids in attracting insects, further enhancing the chances of pollination. Looking at the importance of the flower, pollination mechanism of the flower uses its scent and heat to attract carrion insects such as flies and beetles, which are essential for its pollination, allowing it to reproduce. Looking at its ecological role, it plays a critical role in maintaining the balance of local ecosystems by attracting specialized insects, contributing to the overall biodiversity of the area. Coming to the next article, more than 7,500 lakes in western Greenland have turned brown, begun emitting carbon, and suffered a drop in water quality due to extreme weather events that took place in 2022, according to a new study. These lakes, which were once crystal blue, provide drinking water to the locals, feature rich biodiversity, and sequester atmospheric carbon. So now in this context, let's discuss about the impact of extreme weather on Greenland lakes. The Greenland Lake's transformation in a recent study revealed that extreme weather events in 2022 caused rapid and unpredicted changes in the Greenland lakes. Typically, such transformation takes centuries. However, in this case, they occurred within months due to warmer temperatures and rainfall instead of the usual snowfall. And looking at the key events, warm weather and rainfall in 2022, warmer than usual temperatures led to rainfall instead of snowfall, unlike the typical fall season snowfall. Additionally, the thawing of permafrost, which is the frozen ground containing organic carbon, occurred, which released carbon, iron, magnesium, and other elements into the lake. And looking at the atmospheric rivers, these events were driven by atmospheric rivers, narrow regions in the atmosphere that carry vast amount of water vapor. While atmospheric rivers contribute to precipitation, their intensity has increased due to rising global temperatures, which in turn intensified the changes in Greenland's lake. Looking at the findings, the changes in lake are due to the influx of organic carbon and elements altered the physical and chemical and biological properties of the lakes. By July 2023, the significant changes were observed in the color, odor, and taste of the lake water, thus confirming the impact of these extreme events. And the impact on water quality is also observed, while increased organic material interacted with water treatment processes, producing carcinogenic chloration byproducts. For example, trihalomethanes, which pose risks of the safety water. Furthermore, the color change reduces sunlight penetration, which consequently affected phytoplankton, organisms vital for carbon dioxide absorption through photosynthesis. Additionally, emissions of carbon dioxide from the lakes increased by 350%, thus reversing their role from carbon sinks to carbon sources, further contributing to climate change. Looking at the climate implications, firstly, atmospheric rivers and the climate change. In this, the study shows that atmospheric rivers will become 50 to 290% more frequent by the end of the 21st century in the regions like Greenland, Western North America, and Eastern Asia. Therefore, the frequency and intensity of these events are expected to rise, contributing to severe flooding and heat, which will further exacerbate existing climate challenges. And coming to global carbon absorption decline, A 2023 study revealed that carbon absorption by lands has dramatically dropped to the lowest level since 2003, absorbing only 0.23 to 0.65 gigatons of the carbon. This is significant because oceans, forests, and soils currently absorb about half of a human carbon emissions, and their diminished capacity to absorb carbon increases the pressure on the environment. As a result, as carbon sinks diminish or reverse their role, atmospheric carbon dioxide levels are expected to rise, which will further climate change and global warming. Looking at the significance, the climate change and carbon sinks, the transformation of Greenland's lakes highlights the accelerated impact of climate change on the natural systems that absorb carbon. With ecosystems like lakes, forests transitioning from carbon sinks to carbon sources, global efforts to combat climate change may be hindered, thus making it harder to meet climate goals. So, today we have discussed 7 articles in total, and we will be back again with another video tomorrow. Thank you.